What is up, boys and girls? It's me, Vox, back in Master Duel for another video, and this time I wanted to differentiate a bit from doing deck profiles and instead wanted to do a discussion video in preparation for Master Duel Season 6 release, which comes in 2 days from now. Basically, I wanted to show you guys 5 decks that I believe will be prevalent, or if you play them and if you learn how to play them, are genuinely lethal. In my opinion, these decks are quote-unquote rogue decks, meaning that they are not as common. In my experience at least, I have not seen these 5 decks that I'm about to show you in comparison to decks like, the standard, which is like Despia, Sword for now, Tri-Brigade variants, etc. These decks are not as common, so you have the advantage, the extra advantage of basically your opponent not knowing what your deck does or when to ash, etc. So that advantage alone, and then if you learn how to play the deck, could easily get you to Diamond 1, obviously if you choose to invest. So let's go start with the first deck and show my opinions and obviously what I believe are great choices for you to start your Season 6 in Master Duel. For the first deck, obviously I couldn't resist, I had to show you Hero. Some people could say that Hero are pretty common, especially at lower ranks, but from my experience, I have very few mirrors playing this deck. Like, I don't know why people choose not to play this. Obviously they do, but they are not as common, and this is the version that I showed in the deck profile, in case you haven't seen, that I made for Heroes, and I'm about to show you right now is the actual deck that I'm recommending you to play instead of this one that you're seeing right now. So let's show it. And this is the hero version that I recommend, which is obviously different from the one that I made for the deck profile. The one that I made for the deck profile is mainly going first. Like, it doesn't matter if you win the dice roll or not, you want to go first. Obviously you can play second, but with this specifically, it is more focused into going, whether that's first or second, you don't care, because with this you have the triple droplet, you have triple hero lives for more consistency, you have triple Vion with 2 hero Stratos for you to go into your plays. Then we removed the extra Destiny hero monsters, so you now just have 4, which is your 2 Malicious, 1 Plasma and 1 Denier. Obviously we removed the D-Force and the Super Polis, and then we have the second Dark Law, the second Cross Crusader. Obviously, if you still want to run your Super Polis, you can. Hero Lives, in my opinion, I believe it is a card that can backfire incredibly. So, especially if you're going first. So, going 3 is quite literally a dice. Sometimes you will win because you draw Hero Lives, and sometimes you will actually lose because you resolved it. Because that 4k on your life points, 4k decrease on your life points, will basically mean you losing, because that wouldn't be enough for your opponent. That wouldn't be enough, and your opponent could literally just kill you after that. So that is for the heroes. I genuinely believe that this deck is still phenomenal. It's still incredible. If you know how to play it, it is so lethal. Like, you don't care about interruptions if you have a decent hand, because you have so many extenders in your deck, and at worst you can just make a DPE with like a Dark Lord or something else, and then you are set. So let's go for the second deck. The second deck that I'm recommending for you guys for Season 6 in Master Duel is actually Zombie World, but with DPE. Yeah, right. Zombie World, in my opinion, is one of the decks that I don't see often, from my experience again, that I do not see often in the ladder, and I genuinely believe is incredibly powerful, especially with the addition of Super Poly, because you have cards like Zombie World that makes everything zombies, and then with Rival of the Warlords for you to lock your opponent. And obviously, we play the Artifact Dagda and the Artifact Scythe combo, because we utilize Tenyi Water Magician with our Baron de Floor. Basically, the combo is for you to resolve Scythe into your opponent's turn, with going into Tenyi Water Magician, destroying our card in the back row, which will be the Scythe, special summoning it onto the field, and then synchro summoning with Tenyi Water Magician and then Artifact Scythe, going into our Baron. Like, this deck in general, even if you do not manage to do this every single game, is so lethal, so powerful. Like, I obviously choose to run Zombie Necronize, which is another card that it is not as commonly run for the Zombie World decks. It's basically a mind control if you have a level 5 or higher zombie on the field. So it's basically either one of your extra deck monsters that will become zombies, or basically your Valor Dog, right? And then what it does is you take control of that monster if you have a level 5 or higher zombie. You target one of the field, take control of it. During the main phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle one of your banished monsters to the deck, and if you do, you set this card, but bans it when it leaves the field, so it has recursion. I genuinely believe that this deck is one of the strongest in general in Master Duel still. If you know how to play it, the interruptions that it has, the draw power that it has with cards like Vampire Sacker, and the general combos, obviously because you run Crystal Hyper Fibrax. As we've said, you run the Dagda with a side comp. You have lethal combos that you can make with a deck with going with your access code as in general. You have your synchro monsters that you can go into. I choose to run Zengin actually for the zombie monsters because I genuinely believe is one of the greatest 10 tuners that you can abuse into the deck. Obviously, I'm going to show you there are different options that you can run for 10s, but one of the other 10 options you could run is your Sorcery-Sun Saga. If you also want to run the other Shiranui, which is the Shiranui Songan Saga. But you get the gist, you get the idea. It's one of the most powerful decks in my opinion at the game. If you know how to play this, it's absolutely lethal. It doesn't care if it goes first or second. Obviously, because you play Scythe, you wouldn't mind going first. But again, it can go second and still be incredibly powerful if played correctly. Let's go and show you guys the third deck that I'm recommending. For the third deck that I'm actually going to recommend you guys is Dragonmaid with DPE. Yes, of course I did it. Obviously you can play Dragonmaids without DPE, but why not, right? I do not understand the idea of people not integrating DPE in Dragonmaids. It's a deck that is so consistent into getting into its end board with one Dragonmaid Tiding and then one Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Sphere to just interrupt your opponent. Some people actually choose to play Dragonmaids with Super Poly, funnily enough, because I love this card, right? Why wouldn't I go to play into Super Poly with this? It was mostly to play something different, honestly, just to go away from that gameplay, to iterate something different, something that is unique, and I genuinely believe that Dragonmaids are unique in that gameplay. And the fact that they are not as common means that your opponent doesn't know how the deck interacts, they do not know what to negate, what to stop, so that is an extra advantage for you to use. Obviously with cards like Prosperity, your deck gets more consistent. We have cards in our extra deck like Twin Triangle Dragon, which is cards that you can basically use to get monsters back into the field so you can then link climb into your either triple burst and obviously access code. This deck is so powerful. There are multiple iterations that you can play with Dragonmaids. This one that I'm showing you is, in my opinion, one of the strongest. Obviously, you will see that the decks that I'm recommending, some of them are still in progress, that haven't completed, but I have played these decks in different sites, emulator sites, you know how they work. I have tested them and they are incredibly powerful. And also, if you notice, the reason that I'm not sticking to number 40 for decks and I'm going for like 42, 43, 44 is because of the DPE and cards like that. Like, I would rather, for example, draw a Harpy's Feather Duster or an extra Dragonmaid Hospitality instead of drawing the bricks of the deck, the garnets, right? So by going more than 40, I reduce the chance of actually drawing this one of garnets that I have in my deck, this one of bricks, and maybe drawing into something different. That would be either interruption for my opponent with one of the Handtraps, or for more starters for my deck, which is any of the Dragonmaid monsters, ideally, you know, Parlor or Chamber, and then either Black Metal, etc. You get the gist. Genuinely love this deck. Every single time that I sit on the ladder, if my opponent knows how to play this, it's such a slog for a match to play against. It's like how Sky Striker feels playing against the current ladder and the current meta. Dragonmaid feels the same. It's such a slog if the opponent knows how to play this deck, and it's so incredible. It has so many interruptions. I genuinely love it. But yeah, this is the iteration of Dragonmaid that I personally love the most, and I'm recommending. So let's go for the fourth deck. For the fourth deck, I'm actually recommending Water Xyz or Shark Kragen. Basically, this deck, if you play in TCG, you obviously know how this deck works. It is such a phenomenal strong deck. What it does is, it basically barfs level 4s. You just special summon level 4 monsters to the field. into going to your level 4 Xyz like Bahamut Shark, using their effects to basically special summon your Totally Awesome for a negate or your Triad's Levia for a targeted negation. And then, obviously, because it's an Xyz focused extra deck, you have cards like your Zeus. You obviously, we run one number 59 Crooked Cook, why not, right? In case you break. 3 Pot of Desires for consistency. This deck is so fun to play. It is one of the most consistent decks, and if you know how to play it, you can break boards easily. You have like cards like Forbidden Droplet. If you play first and you end up on your Stealth Kragen with one of your Bahamut Sharks that summons one Totally Awesome, and then you can basically finish into your Utopic Dragon Future as well. And then having Gozen Match on top of that, like having 2 Omni Negates, having 2 Negates, and then having Gozen Match on the field that says each player can only control one attribute of the monster. You see that, and then you read your number 4 Stealth Kragen. What it does is all face-up monsters of the field become water. But it basically is a zombie world for a water deck, right? A zombie world on legs, but for making everything water. Such an incredible and fun deck. It is one of the decks that I almost never seen in the ladder, and every time I have seen it, which is like maybe twice or thrice, I actually don't understand how people haven't realized the potential of this deck. I genuinely don't. It is so powerful, so incredible. Obviously, you can iterate different hand traps if you choose to do that, but I believe that with this iteration, this deck is phenomenally strong. And one key iteration for this deck that others do not have is that it's because you use cards like Zeus. You have your locks with your Gozen Mats and your numbers 4 Stealth Dragon. You obviously have options that you can go into in case you break. Your draw power is decent. Your search power is really good with cards like White Mirror. Such a phenomenal deck. I have nothing more to say. It's genuinely an incredible deck, but I wouldn't say it is the best, obviously. There's a reason that you don't see it often in the meta, but it's still strong if you know how to play it. So let's go and show you guys the 5th and final deck that I'm recommending for Master Duels Season 6. The 5th and the last deck that I'm recommending for you guys for the next Master Duel season, which is Season 6, is Rose Tenyi. This deck is so fucking strong. It is so incredible. I have no words. It is one of the decks that I wouldn't consider rogue, but the reason that I'm putting it in that bracket is because I haven't personally faced it in the ladder enough. Like, you will see different decks, sure, but in my experience, I haven't seen this enough to consider it meta. Obviously, it is phenomenally strong. It utilizes Tenyis, it utilizes a small Sword Soul package with 1 Sword Soul Moya, 1 Taya, and 1 Longyon. Obviously, I choose to run some P.U.N.K monsters as well because they are tuners, they are searchers. The idea of the deck is to go into your Crystron Haki Fibrax, then into your Mecha Phantom, and then basically you go from there into your general Tenyi combo that utilizes Danglong. You would go with Danglong. Your Danglong would search you 1 Tenyi monster, and you obviously with that you will have your 9 pillars, your Omni Gate, that is a counter trap, which is phenomenally strong. Obviously, this deck utilizes the Rose Tenyi package, sorry, that's why it's called Rose Tenyi. In case you don't know what this small package does, basically it's a starter that when you normal summon this card and you use it as a synchro material, you will special summon 1 Roxor's Dragons from the deck, and then basically with that extra special summon, you can go from there and utilize more of your cards, more of your extenders to literally go from there, because you have so many options in your extra deck that you can build upon. Obviously, we run 1 Galaxy Tomahawk as well. It requires 2 level 7s, and what it does, it's you will special summon, you will use Galaxy Tomahawk ideally, you will special summon into your extra monster zone, and then you will fill your monster zone with like 5 level 6 with 2k 5 level 6 with 2k attack tokens that then you can use these to make anything you want, depending on what hand you have. But again, as I've said, the idea of the deck is to manage to get into your Crystron Haki Fibrax and then your Mecha Thunderbeast Auroradon. The key interaction for this deck is ending up on this, and then depending on your hand, depending on what you have in your hand, obviously you will end up on a different board every single time. But the idea is to go into your Danglong using your Janglong, and then from there you would use him and go to different things. Whether that is your General Baron, whether that is your Soul monsters, your Fang as well. This deck is generally incredibly powerful. It is a bit difficult to learn because it has so many different cards that you can use for extenders and etc. It's a bit odd if you see it for the first time. It feels, and it is, an odd deck, but it works so well because you have so many extenders, you have so many searchers, you have cards that basically, like your emergency teleport, that will unbrick your hand in situations where you don't have many plays, because you will still end up with going into your Crystal Hulky Fibrax. As I've said, we're running some Tenyis as well to assist for extenders. We have a small P.U.N.K package into our deck as well for more extension. I have nothing more to say. This deck is incredibly phenomenal. I genuinely love this deck, and every single time I have faced an opponent playing this, if they know what they're doing and they're playing first, I'm done. Like, I have no interruptions to stop their Crystal Hulky Fibrax or to basically Nibiru them on their Mega Phantom Beast. I'm basically dead. Like, I might as well just scoop, because it's basically like facing a Drytron player that plays first and you have no interruptions, so you are forced to sit for like 10 minutes and watching them slowly killing you. Like, right, it's literally them killing you with a spoon. It's a slow death that you have to either, you know, stand and watch the show or just scoop and go for the next. But yeah, these were the 5 decks that I wanted to show you guys. Maybe give you an idea. I hope that I gave you an idea for the next season for Master Duel. And in case you see some of these decks and you want me to go more into detail or make a deck profile, show some replays like I do generally, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, like, this was the gist. This was the idea of the video. I hope you like this. Generally, thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I'll see you next time.